The Last of Us. We're all familiar with it. Whether it was the original back on PlayStation 3, the remastered release for the PlayStation 4, or even the Left Behind DLC, we all have heard of this game at some point. But recently, with my love of action-adventure games, has my opinion of The Last of Us changed? Well, for this Trash or Treasure episode, I'm taking a look at The Last of Us. More specifically, The Last of Us Remastered. Play that intro! Enjoy the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Trash or Treasure, the series where I take a look at a very well received or very hated game and give my opinions on it. For this episode, I'm taking a look at The Last of Us. The Last of Us is a third-person survival horror game originally released for the PlayStation 3 back in 2013. It later got a remastered version released for the PlayStation 4 in 2014. It was developed by Naughty Dog, and if you grew up during the 90s with the OG PlayStation, then you most likely remembered them for the Crash Bandicoot games. If you're like me and grew up in the 2000s, then you knew them for Jak and Daxter. You also know them as the guys who brought us Uncharted. Me and The Last of Us have a unique relationship, I want to say. I actually first played this back in, I want to say late 2014, maybe 2015. Back then, I absolutely loved this game. Could it be because it was technically the first M-rated game I ever played? Maybe. But now, with my newfound love of action-adventure and RPGs, did my opinions changed? Well, there's only one way to find out. Alright, so before we start the plot, I should warn you that this game's plot is heavily story-driven. So if you haven't played the game yourself, I'll leave a link to my Let's Play of the game in the description below. Are you still here? Alright, don't say I didn't warn you. So we opened the game in 2013 with this weird mutant fungus known as cordyceps, and it's been ravaging across the United States, transforming humans into mindless creatures, which the game calls the Infected. In the suburbs of Austin, Texas, our main hero, Joel, and his brother Tommy, along with his daughter Sarah, tried to get the frick out of Texas during the chaos. As they were fleeing, a soldier shot Sarah, and she later died in Joel's arms. Well, shit, we just opened up, and am I supposed to start crying? Well, sorry, couldn't say that I lost a child in my life. We then jumped 20 years later into 2033, where 60% of the world's population has this fungal brain-altering virus. Joel now resides in Boston and no longer is with Tommy. Instead, he has a new buddy named Tess. They have jobs as smugglers, you know, smuggling guns and other illegal shiz. But of course shit goes wrong, like their weapons being stolen. Their quest led them to a woman named Marlene, who is the head honcho of this group known as the Fireflies. To try and explain who the Fireflies are as best as I possibly can, they're basically a militia group who are trying to save the world by looking for a cure for the pandemic that infected the world. But of course, the apocalypse being, well, the goddamn apocalypse, all other groups that formed really don't hang around with the Fireflies. So basically, if you say you're a Firefly, you get a cap in your ass. So even though Marlene has Joel's and Tess's guns, she just doesn't give them back that easily. Instead, another quest. Marlene, that's my shit, you bitch! What do you mean I have to do a quest for it? But not only do we get our guns back, but more. All we gotta do is just escort this little girl named Ellie to the Firefly base at the capital city. Now, I will go over Ellie's backstory, so I'll just try to sum up her backstory as quickly as I can so this video wouldn't be an hour long. Okay, so, Ellie was born after the outbreak, so she never really had what I consider a normal childhood. Her mom is dead, Marlene seems to be the only one who knows everything about her, she was enlisted in the military at some point, and she had to witness the death of her bestie slash possible love interest. all while she was just 14 years old. Anyways, back to the base game. Joel and Tess accept the task and start traveling with Ellie. Everything went well until they were stopped by some military goons. Joel and Tess kills them and Ellie stabs one. Ellie then shows that she had a bite mark during the infected attack, which is revealed in the Left Behind DLC. This caused Joel and Tess to almost lose their minds, but Ellie claims that the bite is around, I want to say, 3 weeks old. So Joel and Tess are like, I smell some old bullshit. Because according to the game's lore, if you get bitten, you turn within 2 days. Ellie insisted that she isn't lying, so this proves that she has some form of an immunity to this fungal virus. So the Fireflies want to create a cure using Ellie. And it was at this moment that Joel and Tess knew they done messed up by accepting this. But Tess is down for saving the world, but Joel just wants to go home, but he goes along with it anyways. So after a few encounters with the infected, from stalkers / runners to fucking clickers, they made it. Only to see that everyone is dead. And I mean really dead. Like to the point where this is almost considered like a Firefly cemetery. So after some arguing, Tess shows that she had gotten bitten on the way here. So she begged Joel, and he reluctantly agrees when Tess said that Tommy would be the best option since he used to work for the Fireflies. More military goons show up, forcing Joel to take on the task. They move on, or stay and get completely bodied. So after leaving Tess behind, resulting in her dying along with more traveling, we meet Bill, get a car, kill some hunters, and meet some friendly faces in the form of Henry and his younger bro Sam, and the two duos team up since they both have the same goals in mind. But of course, the apocalypse, being the fucking apocalypse, Sam is now one of the infected, meaning Henry kills Sam and then himself. So seasonal change, now we're in fall, and we finally meet Tommy again. Joel and Tommy talk, they argue, kill raiders, Ellie takes a horse to an abandoned house, Joel and Tommy find her, Joel and Ellie argue, they kill more bandits, and then get back to Tommy HQ. And then Tommy just tells them to go to the University of Colorado, and lo and behold, no fucking Fireflies. Seriously, where the hell are these guys? And after listening to a recording of a dead Firefly, he said that they are in St. Mary's Hospital in Salt Lake City. And we kill more bandits. Seriously, why the hell are the bandits having such a massive raging hate boner against these two? Joel, I understand, but Ellie, no. But like I said, we killed them. One of them got the best of Joel, forcing him to fall from large height on a metal pike. Now that will most definitely kill someone. So Ellie starts worrying since Joel is now low-key, mid-key, high-key dying. They escape and Joel passes out, meaning Ellie now has to take care of Joel. Now this is where some parts of the Left Behind DLC comes into play here. So to sum it up, Ellie just needs to find a first aid kit and single-handedly fights more hunters and the infected. Season change. Now we're in winter. Ellie encounters some 2 random ass dudes who later reveal to be the people who are with those bandits from the university. After some running, it is revealed that David, one of the 2 random dudes, are fucking cannibals. Looks like I found some people that Hannibal Lecter would love to be around. So back with Joel. The power of "Welp can't have that" basically gives Joel the equivalent of an adrenaline rush. Joel interrogates some of David's men to get to Ellie and later saves her after she gives David some facial reconstruction surgery with a machete. Jason Voorhees will be proud of you, Ellie. We're finally in the final stretch of the game. Joel raises the idea that they should just forget about this whole thing and then just live with Tommy. Joel can teach Ellie how to play the guitar, and Ellie can make fun of how old Joel is. But unfortunately, Ellie said that they should pursue this and see this through to the very end, and they continue. So after escaping a flooding tunnel and Ellie nearly drowns since she can't swim, I'm sure Jason could relate to that very much, Joel and Ellie get found by some Firefly patrol team, who knocks Joel out because he was freaking out and wakes up in St. Mary's Hospital next to Marlene, who is just surprised that Joel made it this far. Joel admits that Ellie gave him all the strength that he needed to get to this point. So he asks if he could see Ellie, but Marlene says that he can't since the whole pandemic thing affects the mind. The mutation which gives Ellie her immunity is in her brain. So basically the only way to make the vaccine is to kill Ellie. Let's just say that Joel didn't take this very well, so we shoot our way through a hospital and kill the surgeon near Ellie. Or you could just be like me and kill all 3 of them. Joel gets Ellie and Marlene tries to reason with Joel, but kills her too. You heard me right. Joel ditched the chance to save the whole world for a girl he met only a year ago. That reason alone is what makes Joel my least favorite character in video game history. Anyways, Joel and Ellie are making their way back to Tommy HQ, and Joel lies to Ellie about what just happened. So after asking Joel again, he lies again, and they head back to Tommy HQ, and the game finally ends. And that's the story of The Last of Us, and holy shit, I feel like I just summarized the plot of an entire movie. The story, it's good, I'll give it that, but I just don't like Joel. Like I said before, the moment where he decided to ditch saving the world is what makes him my least favorite character in video game history. Ellie, on the other hand, is my personal favorite, and one of my personal favorites in general. Not only in this game, but of all time. Could this be because she's still a teenager? Possibly. But with the story finally out of the way, let's move on to the gameplay. The gameplay of The Last of Us has us control Joel and Ellie in a third-person POV, and the name of the game is Run, Take Cover, Shoot, and Stealth. Or you could be like me and just shoot and run. The enemy variety ranges from humans like the bandits to the hideous abominations that are the infected. We have stalkers / runners who are basically like zombies, and we have these two assholes. Clickers who may be blind but can get to you via noise, and if they touch you and you don't have a shiv, it's an instant kill. And we have these tubs of disgustingness, bloaters. These fat asses serve as your bosses, I guess you could say. Much like clickers, if they touch you, it's an instant kill. And no, you cannot use a shiv to basically make your way out of their grasp. One touch, dead. In terms of controls, well, I gotta say Naughty Dog nailed the ultra realism down, and visually I say it's pretty good. Keep in mind, this game was developed by only half of the Naughty Dog team. There are also dozens of Easter eggs, primarily of the Uncharted and Jak Daxter variety. Hell, in the Left Behind DLC, there's an arcade cabinet based off of Jak X Combat Racing. Though there are some areas of the game that can get a bit dark to the point where I can see my reflection through the TV, and not even the flashlight could help me. So overall, the gameplay and visuals are pretty good. As for OST, it's mainly atmospheric, which isn't a bad thing by any means, it's just not my thing, I want to say. So let's recap everything we went over. The story is pretty good, I like the gameplay, visually it held up with the exception of a few areas that are dark as hell, and the OST isn't my thing. Here are my closing thoughts. Overall, I say that The Last of Us is still a pretty alright game. If you could get past Joel's overall attitude, then I say play this game. If you want a game with more story, then I can also recommend this. To me, it's one of those one and done games. It is with that in mind, I'm giving The Last of Us / Last of Us Remastered a 7.5 out of 10. With my seal of a fairly good treasure. To me, I play video games to escape reality, but The Last of Us, especially if you're playing this in current year, will remind you heavily of the harsh reality we are currently living in. As always, I want to know from you all, did you play The Last of Us or The Last of Us Remastered, and could you possibly recommend either of them to a friend? Leave your answers in the comments below. This is most likely my longest review ever, and I would really appreciate it if you consider liking the video and share this with a friend. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to be notified when I make a new video. As always, my social media links are down below. I've been Horror Kid, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.